I am so grateful for this community and everything we've done to get us to this moment as we fill our sanctuary for the first time in 3 years. I'm grateful for our incredible clergy and staff and their relentless creativity. And I'm grateful for all of us here and on Zoom and our uncompromising belief in each other and in our shared future. I get asked about my experience as president of the board, and while each time I give a different answer, my favorite part of the role is talking with all of you. I love hearing your stories, what moves you to be a part of TBE, what challenges you, what you're passionate about, and especially how I and others can connect you to what you find meaningful. So when I write these words, I start by listening. I want to tell your story, our story. In Pirkei Avot, Ethics of Our Fathers, Rabbi Tarfon says, "You are not obligated to complete the work of repairing the world, but neither are you free to desist from it." It's my favorite passage from the Mishnah, not only because it's a call to action, but because it reminds us that even if we don't get to see the future that we're working towards, our work in building that future, in building shalom, for ourselves, for our community, and for the world, is sacred. This past year saw the loss of one of our longtime members, Howard Wolk. I was incredibly moved by Howard's passing. Howard and Nancy were the first people Risa and I met at TBE who really extended their hands and their smiles to welcome us and help us feel a part of the community. Howard was a builder. 8 years ago, he saw the need to expand our adult education opportunities. Yet Howard didn't look outside for teachers. Howard knew our teachers were right here, all of us. So he created T-Bell, TBE's lifelong learning experience, which has touched the lives of so many of us in ways Howard could have only imagined when T-Bell started. Howard created a path that others would walk on. Like Art Gerstenfeld, another longtime member who passed this year, Art ran a T-Bell class on classical music. He showed up for class in full costume as Beethoven, and the rest is history, the music club at TBE. Everything you see around you, every event we publicize, every service we create, every action we take, was started with an idea of something that was not yet there. We build shalom, bonim shalom, when we bring our full selves into this space, add our unique gifts, and join with others to create something much bigger than ourselves. We build shalom when we organize to reduce gun violence, address climate change, work for racial justice, and welcome the stranger. Rabbi Tarfon's call to action feels especially relevant in this moment. Many of us are reentering the building, some for the first time, feeling challenged for how to bring ourselves fully into this space. We hear this: I drifted away during the pandemic, and I'm trying to find my way back in. And yet, we can find our path and bring our gifts simply with our presence and our energy. Our friend Shelley, a lifelong learner, would know a little about that. Shelley grew up as a secular Jew, and he didn't see the inside of a synagogue from the time he was 12 until he was 70. And since then, he has, in his words, been trying to catch up with all the learning I've missed. He searched for a congregation, and he found TBE. The more I learned about Judaism, he said, the more I felt like I belonged. Shelley builds shalom every time he brings his full self into this space with the unique gifts of his presence, his wisdom, his energy, joining with others to create something that was not here before. We build shalom when we reach out and when we create spaces for others to bring their unique gifts. Jessica joined TBE when her son entered our preschool. At the time, Jessica met a number of families at the same stage and saw an opportunity. Together, they dug in and created a Jewish space for families with young children. They created opportunities to share Shabbat together through Havarot, engaged in Tikkun Olam as families, and learned together. And what I love most about hearing Jessica tell her story is that, like all of us, her family's engagement in our community ebbs and flows with each stage of our lives. And yet, with the lessening intensity of her kids' day-to-day pulling her to the building less often, Jessica comes into TBE on a Friday evening for Shabbat, sometimes by herself, filling our space with her presence. In Jessica's words, "I know my soul will be nourished from the music, from the rabbis, from the cantor. There's nothing like having a place to go to and step outside my everyday existence and do something meaningful, calming, and peaceful, knowing that everyone who is there for the same reason." We build shalom when the unique gifts of our individual voices merge to create something more powerful than each of us could ever do on our own. You've heard many of us talk about our Derek Latid Endowment Campaign. We've accomplished so much thus far. We've helped to sustain our innovation and growth in adult learning, our beautiful music, our ability to care for ourselves and the world around us. Derek Latid literally means path to our future, a path that is only possible when we each bring our individual gifts, our presence, our ideas, our entrepreneurial spirit, our unwavering compassion for others, and yes, our financial contribution. We are now coming to the end of this campaign. You will receive a request that by now has probably arrived at your home to invest in this community-wide effort. This year's annual appeal supports Derek Latid by fulfilling our current needs, growing our endowment, and enabling us to embark on new initiatives. Just like our building campaign, I hope every family will join us, and I want to invite you to do so in whatever way, at whatever level feels meaningful to you, calling on our friend Shelley's words one more time, not because it's an obligation, but because we are continuing something that is good. And while the Derek Latid campaign provides critical funding to create the TBE we want, actually doing the work of creating it is up to every one of us. Which brings us back to Rabbi Tarfon's call to action. Outside the building, there are banners asking each of us, how do you build shalom for yourself, for your community, and for the world? These are not just rhetorical questions, but real questions we want to continue to wrestle with and act on. This afternoon, in the hour of learning, we'll have the opportunity to study Isaiah 58, the Haftarah passage we will read this morning, and reflect together on how we will answer Isaiah's call. What is the fast that we desire? Later this fall, you'll hear from the Bonim Shalom team about a series of workshops where we will explore what it means for TBE as a community to build shalom. I hope you'll join us to add your unique voice and perspective. In 5783, I encourage all of us to keep looking for ways to bring our unique gifts to this space, to join with others to continue, in Rabbi Tarfon's words, the work of perfecting the world. Drop off a box of cereal for family table. Come to Shabbat services. Try a new class. If you drop off a child at school here, come into the building. We are a stronger community when we are all in. We are at our best when we build shalom together. Shana Tova.